Hi everyone, welcome back to the studio for this week's episode of Tutorial Tuesday. I'm so excited you're here with me in the studio. My name's Kaylee. I paint wet on wet landscape oil paintings, and you're here for Tutorial Tuesday episode number 70. I thought we would do a really fun sunset beach scene, so let's just jump right into it. I've got my 18 by 24 inch canvas up here, and if you'd like to follow along, the paint list is going to be in the description below. I'm going to start with my 1-inch brush and build a little bit of my light scene. We'll have a sun poking through some clouds. And I think we'll just start right up here. I'm using the yellow ochre. It's a really fun color. I'm just going to work this around. And let's take some of that even, and we'll bring it down into the water. I'm going to add some Indian yellow to the yellow ochre. Right on the outside, I'll just brighten it up. I'm using a good bit of paint. I'm going to soften it out, but I want it to be kind of strong. And we'll just incorporate some of that Indian yellow down below. I was feeling super indecisive on what painting to paint. I just kind of hadn't really decided on my mood, and then I stumbled across a cool this little orange kind of beach scene, and I just thought, ooh, that's perfect. So hopefully we can pull it all together today using some fun colors. Just gonna keep building this nice bright kind of sun area here. Let's pick up, we'll do just a touch of crimson and bright red. Just a tiny bit of that. And we'll just soften the two together there. The horizon is far away, so we're using long X stroke here. I'm crossing over in the center, and then I'm moving that cross and blending as I move. It's a pretty nice stroke. It works really well to get those long lines on the horizon. That looks about right. Let's see if we can do a touch of that. Get some of these reds down below. We want to cover the canvas with all of these fun colors today. Same bright red and alizarin crimson. I have a little bit left on the brush. I'll just get rid of it up here. Now, I think we'll do some kind of, some kind of sunbeams coming out of this. Let's see if we can make that happen. I'll just surround those a little bit with a touch of crimson. Crimson, crimson. Fun. I didn't expect it to look so cool. But I'm having fun with these colors. Okay, let's see about, I want to do some midnight black now. I'm going to just wipe off the brush a little bit. It gets kind of sneaky in there sometimes. That Indian yellow creeps up on you, but we're going to just mix it right on this sort of dirty brush. The midnight black. Really disperse it into the bristles here. It's just going to kind of softly blend with the other colors that are in the bristles. That's what we want. We're going to start building some stuff up here in the sky. Not too much. Oh, cool. I like this already. Okay, let's pick up just a touch more and do this corner here as well. Easy does it. Start small, because you'll really be upset if you go too much. But we want to cover the whole canvas. We're going to soften it back and maybe we'll build some more colors in. Bit of movement in there. This midnight black is going to play nice with almost all of the colors. This Indian yellow though, not so much. So we've got to be careful. We can play with the yellow ochre, the crimson. They can all get together and they'll have a good time. No big deal. All right, I just wiped off my brush a tiny bit, and we'll go back and reload and fill this corner here. I'm just gonna pull from the outside in. Real simple from the bottom up. We're just gonna work the dark, and we'll start with the midnight black. We'll work in some more colors here in a little bit. Filling the canvas now completely with paint. This side too. We don't want to leave them out. Soften those edges. There we go. Now, let's blend it. And pick up the big blending brush. Make sure it's nice and clean. We don't want any surprises on that. And right in the middle, we'll just soften this all. Really build that glow. Ooh. Starting to move into some of these more crimson areas. You don't want to do that too soon. keep blending these colors a little bit more, and then we're going to build a tiny bit more light in here. Let's just pick out a spot here. I think we'll do something like here. That, and then let's do something. I think we'll do a little bit of titanium white and Indian yellow on the fan brush. And we're just going to dance in a little bit more light right here. We'll just get a little bit more paint. And maybe we'll get some yellow ochre, just a little hint of that. Play it safe in our sky. We'll just pick out a couple little beams of light kind of playing on the clouds here as they move across the horizon. It's like they're coming over you. I'm reloading every time because I'm picking up some of these blues. We don't really want that. And just wipe off some of the blue. Reload. Right, now I'm gonna get my 1-inch brush again, go into my Midnight Black and a touch of crimson, just a tiny bit. And a tiny bit of blue. I will just add a little bit more dark up here. More crimson. Just a little bit. Just get rid of the rest of that paint. We can use it. And I'm going to pick up my blending brush again. I'll wipe off some of that yellow. And then we'll blend the sky. See what we can make of these. Just kind of soften them out. Let's do some dark sienna, bright red, and the same yellow ochre, titanium white. A little bit more dark sienna now. And we'll just bring some of these grays down in a little closer. Just kind of grab them and tickle them in. Reload. Dark sienna. Maybe a touch of crimson and bright red. Yellow ochre. Some real fun colors today. A little bit more red and sienna. Titanium white. Let's do a little bit more titanium white and dark sienna. Let's go for a little bit more on the golden side. We're just creeping it closer and closer to our light source. Wipe that off. I want some orange now. Let's do Indian yellow and bright red. Titanium white. Fire. It's like a fire sky. Maybe that's what we'll call it. The fire sky. A little bit more titanium white. More white. We're just going lighter and lighter as we get closer and closer. Work backwards here in our water and get some of these colors to be incorporated. You can make that nice and easy for us. Go a little bit towards the crimson. Look at that, we're almost done already. Just kidding. But you could be, if you wanted. Now we're just going to loosen up this paint in here. Blending brush. Start in your lights. Right out from the center. Really got to make sure we clean it off before we go back into the center. We're kind of just going to give these nice holes here. Just keep on working it, making these lines to kind of give that illusion of this big sky coming right up and over us here. Now the key with this is just not to pull all this dark in too early. You want to really build up these other colors here. So now we're pulling from the outside and bringing some of the dark back in. And softening it all. There we go. Got a few bristles all in here. Okay, now that looks nice. Kind of just soften that down a touch more. And now we're going to use the fan brush. We'll go into yellow ochre and bright red and titanium white. And we're going to start right where our light is. And we'll just throw out a few clouds right in front. Kind of on top of all these fun little streaks that we had. A little bit lighter. And it's going to start picking up color as we move out of the light source, but we definitely want to start with a bright color in there. Totally are picking up our darks, so just have to be careful with that. Reloading. Tiny bit more right out this way. And we'll do the other side. Now, blend those. I'm going to start in the lightest area. Pick up a sable brush. I think this will be more fun. to blend out these clouds. We'll just pick a couple areas and soften them back. Fun. Sometimes it can be kind of hard to build these skies because you really just get excited and you want to kind of move on, but you have to build it in really slow stages to get these colors and the thick and the thin and the fat to stick to each other so that it dries in the way that you want. And that takes practice. So I hope that you give this painting a try and practice it. We're just working with our thick paints, layering a nice thick paint, softening it back, and then putting another nice thick paint right on top of that. It's really gratifying in my opinion. I think it's really fun to see how you can get the paints to layer and stick to each other and just the kind of effects that you can create. Now we just built this entire sky with just a few colors, and probably colors you wouldn't have thought to use in a sky. Maybe you have. But I do think it's quite fun to use the yellow ochre and midnight black in the sky. They play play really well together. Words. How do those work? Kaylee doesn't know. Oh yeah. Something's funny right here. Let's do. Nice. All right. Now, sun needs to come back. Let's do a little Indian yellow. And back to the white in the center. And then you scrape it off. Whoop. It's like magic. Magic trick. You just want the tiniest bit to be stuck on that canvas there. Now we can finish up setting the scene here. I got a few little lines up here that I want to just emphasize a tiny bit. We'll just kind of soften a couple of these clouds. Not too much. All right, now let's build some water. I'm going to get some of this midnight black and blue. I'm going to grab a touch of phthalo green. Just mix those all right on the brush, and we'll come right up here. A little crooked there. check this. Bit off there. All right, we can pull some of this down. Big blending brush. You go basically just right up to it, and then we're just softening that line. Now with the sable brush, we can go above that line and just soften it a little more. Maybe we'll bring a touch of titanium white just to get some of those clouds to greet. Now we will use let's see if we got some of this. Maybe I need a different knife. There it is. Throw it on the ground, per my usual. Mixing up just kind of a gold. And we're going to use that across the horizon. It's pretty thick paint. Just cutting off a good bit and sticking it on there, connecting all my lines. Maybe we'll grab some more and just go right down. Right down the center here. You can paint an entire ocean with just a knife. Now for these ones, we'll just pull out with a knife, and you can create some little waves way out in the distance. You just kind of rock the knife back into the bottom of that paint. Now before we get too excited and forget about our feature point here, let's go ahead and put in a nice dark spot for our wave. We just get all of our darks that we were already using, and let's go ahead and pick a little wave. Maybe we'll have yeah, that'll do. And let's make this nice and big. And it'll just taper down. Maybe we can have a few extra, just kind of like they're rolling in behind. Now we'll take, let's see, fan brush works pretty good. We'll just wipe it out and see if we can get, kind of pull back some of that dark. And then we'll pull over a little bit over the top. For this big one, we'll pull out the bottom. Nice and flat at the bottom. Okay, we can just bring these a little bit more softness. All right, build in an ocean scene. These take a little bit of effort, a little bit of building and patience. Getting a little bit of a greenish color here. I think that would be nice, and we're just gonna build in a little bit more contrast back here. A little bit of crimson, maybe that much. Get a little bit of this wave coming in here. Maybe we'll have our water line. We could probably make that work. Let's get the blending brush and just soften some of this out here. You just pull straight down, bring some of that together, and then we'll go straight across. And we need just a little bit more colors. I get a little bit of our sand color over here on the edge. We'll just get some dark sienna and bright red. And just kind of build a little bit over here. Touch of crimson. Pick up a little bit of Indian yellow and titanium white. Soften this back a little bit. And we just work in just a touch of Van Dyke brown to the corner here. We just want to get some of it here. We can move it around later. Now, a little bit more. Totally just runs up on the edge over here. Just gotta straighten that out. Bring up the horizon a tiny bit on this side. How did it get so tall? Let's just bring up, I guess, the other side. I didn't realize it was so crooked here. It looked crooked earlier, but not that crooked. So let's do a little more. Okay, maybe we'll have a new plan and just move this up a little. And then we can move this. Fixed it. Now it's like sort of straight. See, you can always fix it. Might not be very fun or easy, but it's possible. And if it doesn't work the first try, don't give up. Try again. Or give up and have a snack, and then try again. Sometimes that works. Okay, now we need to bring just a little bit of our color up to some of those areas because it got a little too light. We can just soften down and we can play with those colors just like that. Now, this is my favorite part. We come back with some nice thick paints, nice thick gold. We'll start with that first. And we're going to slide it across. Let's do some reds. That's a little too bold. Maybe a little less. A little bit more of our white in here. Now we'll do a little bit of that. Get some of just kind of a playful color. And run out a couple of our little waves that we had over here. And then we're just going to play with our knife here and get some nice little water lines and some contrast happening back here. Let's see if we can't get just a little bit more dark over here for this big wave. All right, we're going to pick up a sable brush here and get working with some of these waves. Get some titanium white. And we'll just work with this just kind of pull out a few and move around and rock. Get the movement into the water. We're just doing a nice rocking stroke, creating the motion. A little bit more titanium white. The thick titanium white just helps us to kind of grab onto these other colors and push them around. And if you just had an empty brush, you would be wiping off paint, but instead we're pushing it around. Just working very slowly in stages here, bringing some of these colors together, getting the motion of the water. Let's expand a couple of these light areas here. Okay, let's get the big blending brush and just soften, pick up any thick deposits of paint and make sure that they're smoothed out. Now, let's do a tiny bit with some Indian yellow and titanium white again. Right down the center. With my knife, I'm just going to dance a couple of these out right on top. Cut off a nice little roll of paint. And we'll start with some waves out here. These are just the rolling water lines. You want to have a nice little roll of paint on your knife. And then you press that knife into the canvas, and that little roll will come right off of the end. Gets a little tricky at the bottom of the canvas, but we'll make it work. Let's do a couple more down here while we have the canvas down. That'll do. Ugh. I'm just mixing paint kind of as I go, making them a little bit darker as we're moving away from our light source. And let's see, we've got our wave coming on over here, and maybe in one section we'll have a little bit of a crash. Just touch right along the top on the way down, and maybe right here. We'll just pull a little bit of it. And the wave is still just kind of rolling through. We can just pull that paint nice and softly over the top as it's rolling. And right in here, we'll have this crash point. We'll build a little bit of lavender color here. Titanium white, alizarin crimson, phthalo green, a touch of midnight black. Just the tiniest bit of foam there. Grab some titanium white and bright red. A little bit more. And we can soften the bottom and we pull it down. With a fan brush, we'll wipe it off first, and then we're going to load it up with a little bit of a highlight color. We need some liquid white, and we're going to use just the same color, alizarin crimson, bright red, and titanium white. And then we'll just tap on a little bit of foamy highlight. Liquid white. Just a touch. And right over the top. More liquid white. Okay, now let's get some of that thin color on the fan brush, and we'll just pull these back now. We want to be mindful of the direction that we've been setting it up to angle back, kind of down this beach here. I think this part's probably the hardest part, is getting this angle, and then we go nice and flat as we move up. Get those all kind of going in the same direction. Just a touch more. Fix that one there, and we can pull these back. Right, now we'll just dab in few extra highlights here. A little bit of some of our gold color. Just pop in some fun little shines of color as it's hitting onto the foam of our wave here. And maybe we'll have a few more out here. We can soften those back. Nice. Get a little bit more movement happening around, building into this wave. Just keep it nice and loose. Have fun with these colors. The ocean is always changing and is flowing, so you just have to try and embody that and capture it in your painting. Get that flow happening, and yeah, I like it. Kind of a little bit more abstract today, I think, than what I normally go for. But I really am liking it. Let's just try and build a couple of these lines across. Soften those back. Got some rough waters out there. Maybe with our fan brush we can do just a tiny bit more on this foam. We'll get a little bit of pink into our fan brush, nice and thin, and we'll just build a little foamy thing here. Just pulls right over that. We'll give it some splashes. All right, I think we just need a tiny bit more here and there. I'm gonna get my script liner going here into my thin color here. A little bit more yellow in that. pull a few down and soften it a touch. Make some pretty nice little details here, but we don't need to go too crazy. I just wanted to add a few little details over the top. Gotta get it to stick though, nice and thin. And we can get a little squiggly, some of these little water lines. Let's get some phthalo green. We could just dance in a couple little extra lines of interest and contrast. Then we'll just soften this sun a little bit. Finger was a little too dirty. I'll just kind of get it to blend with some of the color already there. Soften it back a touch. Then we'll do just a few little fun things to the sand with the sable brush. We just lay on top a few. We'll lay on bottom a few. We're just going to make it a nice, soft scene, not a lot of detail. Kind of look like there's little steps in the sand, maybe. And let's take the brush and just soften it. Let's wipe that off. And I'm going to play with the sable brush a touch more. Bright red, dark sienna. we'll do one more real nice wave here. Let's mix up a little bit of a golden color. Just pull that back right into that nice gold. Just pull those just slightly. Up here a little. I think I'm almost done. I'm loving this kind of more abstract-y feel with some real basic kind of, just imply what's going on out here. I'm really liking these colors too. Pretty fun stuff. Just getting a few more colors to come around there. I'm going to get my brush wash and Van Dyke Brown. And I want it nice and thin. We're going to start with the dark. Really dark. And then splash it. Splash some rocks on and some dark texture. Then you can take the 2-inch brush and you can make more. And then I want some yellow ochre right now. Let me get some more of that. And we'll do some yellow ochre into the brush wash again. It's a nice dirty brush wash this time, so it helps. Just getting some muddy colors. Yellow ochre now, nice and kind of a muddy color. Let's get a little bit more red in that. Ooh. Every time I do this, I get paint in random places in my studio that I'm not expecting. So, surprise, when you find paint somewhere that you didn't think it would be, that was because of me, and I'm sorry. Or it'll be somewhere around in your studio or in your hair or on your wall, on your floor. Every time it happens to me. But it's a really fun effect. You can make stars this way, but I really like making sand. I think it looks so cool. A little bit more red. Ooh, that one got me in the face. Okay, let's leave that, and then we just take the 2-inch brush and very carefully you can just soften some back a little. Fun! Let's sign it! I think you could get wild and spend so much more time on the wave and use these colors. I really didn't want to do a big focal wave. I just kind of wanted to give the idea, and you know, it just kind of feels like we're just sitting on the beach and watching the sunset. It's pretty relaxing. So I hope you enjoyed it. Definitely let me know in the comments below. I'm going to give this a nice little signature. We'll just hide it over in this corner. I don't really do anything super special for my signature, just my initials. But you can sign your paintings however you would like. That is completely up to you. All right, I'm all done with my painting for today. Thank you so much for joining me in the studio for this super fun and bold sunset beach scene. I hope you'll join me next week and every week after for my live premiere of Tutorial Tuesdays, where we sit down and watch the video for the very first time together. It's my favorite part of the week, and I'm so happy that you're here with me. Until next week, smile and be happy, friends.